If you enjoy realistic first-person shooters, what you actually enjoy is cock and ball torture. The realistic shooter game spares no expense in making sure that every task laid out in front of you is as long and monotonous as humanly possible. Like a well-scripted 4-hour YouTube video essay, the realistic shooter lulls your brain into an inescapable transient state, where your conscious mind succumbs to the laborious nothingness of walking the entire length of the real-world accurate 4-kilometer map just to preserve one precious ticket for your team's entirely inconsequential war effort. And no game tramples your balls harder than Project Reality. Project Reality is the Battlefield 2 mod spawned from the great minds of butthurt Battlefield players who just refused to accept that the seat-switching TV missile-firing enemy chopper pilot was better than them. They're not better, it's the game that sucks. I'm gonna make a new one with suppression and Eastern Europeans. Stumbling somewhere between ultra-realistic Snorefest Arma 3 and Sinking Ship Squad is the Project Reality experience. Project Reality is the toxic ex that I just keep going back to, not because she's good for me, but because she knows how to peg me just right. Project Reality begins its proverbial pegging of your unlubricated derriere on the download page. Unlike literally any game you might actually play, Project Reality exists exclusively as a potentially nefarious and likely untrustworthy .exe file that can only be acquired from a website straight from the year 2000. No, you haven't gone colorblind. The color palette they've gone for is prison cell grey, as committing to Project Reality is a life sentence. This website is not designed to be user-friendly, will translate horribly if navigated on a phone, and acts as an early warning system to any would-be Project Reality player that it's almost certainly time to turn back. If, by some ordained miracle, you find your way to the download options and don't accidentally port the server files directly onto your hard drive, you'll have to brush the dust off your teenage pirating gear and get this game through a torrent. If you are, however, finding the file a bit concerning, you could of course report it, which opens up a Google Chrome page to nowhere. I'm starting to feel that my options are not options at all, and that my flimsy commitment to the existence of free will may have been a mask for our true lord, determinism, all along. Fortunately, I've already downloaded the game, so the video can continue. But for you, it's obviously over. You load up the game and wabam, there's like a server maybe. If you happen to live in Russia, you might feel like you've lost the real-life lottery. But in Project Reality, you're the biggest baller in the game, with 2 whole servers to choose from. If you're Latin American, you have an option. And if you're from literally anywhere else, you have to go here. I used to get comments all the time when I made content for this game being like, I can't play, I'm from Australia. I can't play, I'm from Thailand. Guys, let's get this straight. You can't play because you don't have the commitment, the dedication. Project Reality is an esteemed club for the best of the best, and if you're not moving to Europe to get a better ping on your one and only PR server, you're not worthy of playing the game to begin with. Alright, you've said goodbye to your family, you've told your girlfriend you've been called up to the front lines, and you've moved your entire life to Central Europe so you can actually play the game. I've just spent 20 minutes in a queue system where you have to manually input the amount of people in the server, and have watched as the server has attempted to join me every 5 seconds, knowing full well that I don't actually have a position in this system one might fairly call an unorganized rabble as opposed to a queue. Instead, I have the flimsy promise that at some point in the not so distant future, Lady Luck may pass her gracious hand across my sweaty brow and grant me access to the game. It's during long and arduous wait times like these that you consider the poor decisions that led you to this point. Allow me to help you make a better one with this video's sponsor, milsimunits.com. Project Reality, much like any milsim, sucks if you play it with a bunch of blueberry normies. What you need is a convenient milsim-focused hub where communities for all your favorite games are compiled in easy-to-navigate lists, where the website's unique community voting system ensures that the best and most active communities always rise to the top. Oh, would you look at that? milsimunits.com is your entirely free online tool that allows you to rise above the low-level scum that form the least valuable members of any gaming society, and instead walk atop them with your new and inclusive fancy org organised community. I was pleased to see that Milsim Units does not support Project Reality, as this website only has good games on it. But if you were playing in an actual game, like Arma or War of Rights, you'd be spoilt for community choices. Choices that would show you in detail the most important information about that group, like where they're from, what their Discord is, and whether they're a bunch of ex-Navy SEALs. But it doesn't stop there. If you're a community manager looking to find some fresh-faced noob scrubs to fill out your ranks, you can also list your own community entirely for free. There is additionally a paid option if you want to remind those below you that you're better than them. So whether you're a dirty blueberry looking for your next community, or a community manager looking for your next noob lord, MilsimUnits.com is the perfect place for you. MilsimUnits.com, people, get over there. We're in. So maybe we should talk about Project Reality. Project Reality is a 50v50 realistic shooter with maps that span across eras. That's right, this isn't just Squad with worse graphics. This is also Hell Let Loose with worse graphics, Rising Storm 2 Vietnam with worse graphics, and the Falklands War, obviously, with worse graphics. Don't tell my girlfriend I recorded this, she's Argentinian. But it's not just eras of warfare, it's also factions. The game has over 25 of them. It's also combat options. This game has player-controlled jets, attack helicopters, tanks, APCs, whatever this thing is. I mean, damn, it's got an Osprey, a Chinook, a motorbike that blows up if you even think about riding it. But I know what you're thinking. How can they possibly maintain quality across the game when attempting to balance so many eras, factions, and time-accurate weapons? Who said anything about quality? Project Reality is best experienced at a distance. It's the kind of game that's better to talk about than actually play, unless you've already committed your entire life to it and can't escape, and so are instead doomed to an existence of walking the Project Reality abyssal plains, telling everyone it's the best game ever, luring them into your PR trap so that you can keep the game alive because your mind is already too lost to play anything else. The World War II portion of the game is by far the worst part, so you'll be pleased to know that the last major update was primarily a World War II update. I don't know much about the World War II part of Project Reality, because every time a World War II map loads up, I leave the game. But it's commonly understood that anyone who's anyone despises this game era. And let's be honest, we all know Hell Let Loose, Squad 44, or even the competing Battlefield 2 mod, Forgotten Hope 2, which focuses purely on World War II, all do this war better. So why do the PR devs have such a hard-on for a war they have no idea how to code? I assume it's some kind of Eastern European mind virus, a collective attempt to highlight the noble sacrifice of the mighty Eastern Front, harking back to a time where Crimea actually meant something, and being from a Slav nation didn't just make you a waste man. You'll be pleased to hear that the Vietnam War portion of the game is much better, as long as you enjoy running aimlessly through unending jungle, shooting blindly at enemy bushes, and dying to no one. In this mode, as the dulcet tones of NVA propaganda bleach a hole through your withered frontal cortex.
Cool. Yeah, what's happened by the way?
This guy's spewing Viet Cong propaganda. You'll welcome gruesome death by air raider napalm strike or passing Huey gunship. At the end of the day, in this game, much like in the real Vietnam War, the true winners are the government-funded defense contractors we made along the way. What's the gameplay like? You're looking at it. In Project Reality, your squad leader is, without a doubt, a sherbet-sucking pensioner who's played the game longer than you've been alive. With their profound knowledge of the Project Reality experience, they know, better than anyone, that the key to victory is to stare at this hole in the roof of a toilet block within a bunker that the enemy may never even attack for literally hours. The true test of a Project Reality player is not how effective you are in combat, it's how good your banter is outside of it. You were stupid enough to think Project Reality was a realistic combat simulator, but that's how they trick you into joining. What this game actually is a chat room.
I'm doubling up on orange fruit sherbets now. I'm going to double up. Oh, I tell you, they're fucking gorgeous, these. I found them in the drawer. I don't know where they came from, and Mrs. apparently put them in there, and I've just been munching on them for last week.
Oh, bluffers, tell me you're an old man without telling me you're an old man. An old man's club where your dad and his friends all come together to make jokes about things that you don't find funny. And they shouldn't find it funny either.
Let's get into a bunker with the old man eats sherbet. Doesn't sound good.
It's stuck to my teeth, it's welding my mouth together.
Exactly, that's what I'm worried about. You don't want me to take it out now.
Bluff, we don't need to know what you and your male lover are doing in the background.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Why don't we have to know that? exactly?
But as isolated pensioners often appear in studies as the loneliest members of society, these poor sherbet suckers will laugh at anything. He's sucking on old man sherbets he found in his drawer from 16 years ago when he was still a young man. For a long time, I couldn't figure out why I liked Project Reality so much, but when I realized it was just Club Penguin, but all the kids had left and only the weird old men remained, everything became clear. The best game in Club Penguin was Connect 4. The reason this was the best is because the gameplay mechanics were commonly understood and could be easily grasped by even the most casual of players. In Project Reality, your gun is designed to not shoot where you're pointing it. Some may call it questionable to make a first-person shooter where the bullets don't go where you're shooting. But those people are uneducated plebeians who've never blindly changed their entire life based on the ramblings of one air quotes expert on an unfact-checked, view-chasing, egotistical podcast that happily exploits the lost and impressionable male audience it pretends to help. Project Reality's weapon mechanics are designed to slow down combat, make a less run-and-gun-like experience, and force people to stop moving if they want to take accurate shots. Oh, I killed him! Oh my god, this thing is a marksman rifle. This final point is incredibly important, as the arthritis in the hands of the old men at the cutting edge of Project Reality's community have lost the motor skills required to track a moving target, and require a game where all players must arbitrarily halt all movement and welcome their oncoming demise with open arms. This is the only way to ensure that Project Reality's 200 remaining players keep coming back to the game. Back when I was a kid playing Project Reality, the game would easily have 1,000 plus players on a good day. Some may argue that this steep player decline is down to a withering gameplay experience, or because of more enticing modern competitors. But the real reason for this slow decline is because with each passing year, more and more senile Project Reality veterans boot up their PCs for the last time, as their dementia fully degrades the portion of their brain responsible for telling your squad to get in the T-shape. Fortunately for us, the players that remain are the best of the best, because everyone else has been banned. He left. Banned. Gatekeeping in video games is a largely complained about and otherwise frowned upon phenomena, whereby those with any power in the community wistfully and according to the victim, unfairly bully, maim, or straight up ban large quantities of mainly new players in order to maintain the purity of their beloved niche game. On paper, this is of course a disgusting and indefensible act that alienates a potential audience and traumatizes victims. On paper. Gatekeeping in Project Reality is the single most important factor to the game's unrivaled experience, and is the sole reason I play it at all. These guys are ruthless. Don't have a microphone? Banned. Make a squad too early? Banned. Crash a helicopter? Definitely banned. I once saw an admin ban half the enemy team simply because they weren't good at the game. And in a game with only one playable server, you get banned from this server, you're banned from the entire game. And that's great. It's terrible for server population and really terrible for the game's reputation, but for the esteemed few who survive. When you can get them all together online at the same time, you get to witness magic.
It's very generous now.
Holy Christ, get out of it! Everyone in this game knows what they're doing. Everyone has a microphone. Everyone is on board for the full, hardcore Project Reality experience. It may be at gunpoint, but if the only way to find a good multiplayer game in 2025 is by playing under the iron fist of an unjust and faceless dictatorship, then so be it. For a convicted felon with no list of victims and an entire island devoid of any substantial incriminating evidence at all, Epstein sure was fast to end his own life. If we pretend for a moment that the guy implicated in the sex trafficking of minors for the likes of industry unknowns such as Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, and former President Bill Clinton did in fact hang himself, given the choice, he would have likely used a rope. The Project Reality rope is the crowning achievement in the game's arsenal and the unsung innovative hero that literally no other games seem to have the balls or the know-how to accomplish. What's this? It's a grappling hook. What do you use it for? To grapple things. Where else have you seen this? Literally nowhere. I don't know how video games lost this 20-year-old technology, but they're seriously missing out. In PR, the Breacher and Spotter kits both get the grappling hook, a throwable and retrievable rope that you and other players can use to climb pretty much anything. This completely transforms the game, because while games like Squad or Hell Let Loose, or basically any realistic shooter ever, require you to traverse the map via the stringent, carefully designed paths and staircases that have been placed for you, Project Reality lets you actually use your brain. Are the enemy embedded in an incredibly hard to attack and easy to defend T-shape? If it was Squad, you'd be fucked, because the only way up is the stairs, and even a Squad player can cover a staircase. But in PR, you could rope on the roof, you could rope on a balcony, you could get 2 breaches, and one could go for the roof, one for the balcony, another squad could go up the stairs. The possibilities are endless. America, if you're listening, this right here is freedom. And we all know you love freedom. That's why you defend the principles that allow people to shoot up your schools. I know you think that other games have grappling hooks, but I hate to tell you this, but that trash in Halo is not a grappling hook. This is some Spider-Man web-slinging bollocks. And these grappling hooks in Rainbow Six Siege are wank. You can only use them in very specific design locations. This is just another way of making stairs. And what's even worse about all these piss-tier, lower-class hooks is that they're all designed with one thing in mind, and that's the individual. Who can use your go-go gadget hook in literally any other game? Well, only you, of course, because you're the hero. In PR, the hook is for everyone. I said it was about freedom, but I lied. I tricked you into watching further. It's actually about communism. It's about working together, putting your team before yourself, ascending as one to great heights, instead of shitting on the non-grapple users as you leave them in the dust in your solo grappling adventures. Hey, team-based shooter games of the future, it's time to rediscover the power of the team-based grappling hook. This 20-year-old mod can do it. I'm sure Unreal Engine Slop 5 can as well, and I bet it'll only cost you 50 frames. Now, I'm obviously giving you a lot of flack for your complete lack of knowledge of this dead, barely playable game. But let's be real, the reason you've never heard of this game is because the only person marketing it to you is me. In the past, making a game was largely inaccessible to a general audience of would-be game developers. In 2025, anyone and their mum can download Unreal Engine and make a piece of trash. And so, it is with this in mind that I consider the dichotomous position Project Reality continues to put me in. Project Reality is aging out of the gaming market. I, for years, as you have seen through the development of this YouTube channel, have strived to find Project Reality replacements in the vague hope that I may be able to increase the click-through rate of my videos. But time and time again, I have come back from my explorations empty-handed. Whether it's the disappointment of Operation Harsh Doorstop, the continued decline of Squad, or one realistic shooter gimmick after another, none seem to have the secret sauce, the special something, the magic combination of whatever Project Reality has that I can shamelessly exploit for views. I recently had a game developer for a different game ask me in complete seriousness, what is the source to PR's success, and what is worth pinching to elevate his own game? And after writing this entire Project Reality essay, I still think I have no idea. The game is old as hell. It lacks strong server options. The gameplay is prohibitively polarizing. The community doesn't want you. Most of what you do is boring as hell, and you'll never even experience any of that because you can't even figure out how to download the game, and you'll never even make it that far because you don't know it exists. This should be the least successful game ever made, and yet somehow it's still the best realistic shooter 20 full years after release. But here's the secret, I don't want you to know it's the best. If you start playing this game, you will objectively make it worse and ruin my last remaining sanctum of gaming purity. People keep asking me, now that Squad's dead, should we all go back to Project Reality? Please, for the love of God, no. I played a few rounds of PR with some questionable individuals last night, and the game was not good. When I said that Project Reality is the greatest realistic shooter you'll never play, that wasn't an assumption, that was an order. If you've watched this entire video, I now require you to look directly into the screen. A little closer. Yeah, that's it. Squad is a masterpiece. It's the game of all time. You should definitely go there. Also, subscribe to Slorgs, obviously. And don't forget to comment, I miss when he did the radio intro. Those are definitely my favourite comments. Also, you're in love with your sister. Alright, bye.